Hey, welcome back to KME Food. Let's go ahead and make this apple cinnamon swirl loaf. Okay, so first we're going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I had to preheat my oven first, y'all, because I be forgetting sometime. Okay, so I already greased and floured my pan, but I use Crisco. What you want to do is just grease your loaf pan all around, and then you take some flour and you just shift it all around. So that way it's nice and coated. So that way your loaf doesn't stick. Next, we're going to take light brown sugar and we're going to use a half cup. And this is going to be for your cinnamon swirl mixture. I'm going to use a spoon here to kind of break up these crumbles to make sure we get accurate measurement. Okay, so half a cup of light brown sugar, and then we're going to take 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Oops. And you're just going to go ahead and mix that in really well together until it's well blended. Also, make sure you guys stick around until later in the video because I'm going to show you how to make a cinnamon glaze that I use to top of your apple cinnamon swirl loaf. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and we're going to peel our apple. And I'm using a Fuji apple, but you can also use the Granny Smith apples. Those taste really well in this loaf as well. And we'll just go ahead and peel the skin off. Okay, so once the apple is completely peeled, we're going to cut up our apple and make sure to take the core out. Cut it in half, cut it in a quarter. And what I'm going to do is kind of just take the core from the apple, just like that. And we're going to go ahead and cut up the apples into slices and then chunks, just like this. And you want to move fairly quickly so that way they don't turn brown on you, because nobody wants brown apples. So after your apples are cut, go ahead and place them in a bowl, and we're going to put 1 tablespoon of sugar, and we're going to take 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and mix that all together until it's well combined, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to use my KitchenAid. But if you don't have a KitchenAid, a hand blender will work just fine. So I'm going to take my paddle attachment right here, and we're going to first take 1 stick of butter, or half a cup of butter, room temperature. I'm going to place the half cup of the granulated sugar in with the butter at room temperature. Now we're going to go ahead and cream our butter, room temperature butter, and the granulated sugar that's in our mixing bowl until it's well combined and nice and fluffy. Okay, so now that that's well mixed, get my spatula. That's how it should look. Okay, so now we're going to mix a half a cup of milk. And this is the 2%. Half cup of milk. You're going to pour that in there. 2 large eggs. Okay, you're going to take 2 large eggs. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to go ahead and mix that in until it's well combined as well. I'm going to have to scrape the sides of the bowl to make sure all is mixed in. Okay, so next you're going to take 1.5 cups of flour. Make sure to get the exact measurements because you don't want to have too much flour. 1½ cups of flour. And after you put the 1½ cups of all-purpose flour in there, you're gonna take 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a ½ teaspoon of baking soda, and we're gonna take 1/4 teaspoon of table salt. And we're gonna use our whisk and mix that all together. And we're gonna put it in with our wet ingredients. And we're gonna mix it just until it's combined. And this batter is be a little thick. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add, after all this is mixed in, I'm gonna add 1 additional tablespoon of milk. I'm gonna go ahead and add the additional tablespoon of milk. And we're gonna mix that in as well to loosen up the batter a little bit. Now here comes the fun part. Let's take our loaf pan. Now we're gonna take our batter. We're gonna pour about half or a quarter, just enough for the bottom layer. Now I'm gonna take the chopped apples, or half of your chopped apples. We're gonna spread them on the batter. Then we're gonna take our brown sugar cinnamon mixture, majority of it, not all of it. We're gonna put that over the apples. Then we're gonna take some more of the batter and kind of spread that over. So maybe another quarter of the batter. I'm going to put more apples on top of that. And I'm going to put the remainder of the cinnamon swirl mixture on top of those apples and then cover it with the remainder of the batter. Next, I'm going to take the spatula and I'm just going to kind of swirl it a little bit. And pat the apples down as much as you can. A little bit anyway. Just pat them down a little bit. Try your best to swirl it, you know. Okay. Now that the apples are patted down and the mixture is swirled, we're going to take this to the oven and we're going to bake this on 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 60 minutes, 60 to 65 minutes. But I always usually check it right at 60. Just check it with the knife, and if it's still a lot of batter coming off, just bake it for another couple minutes to 5 minutes and it should be good to go, depending on your oven.
Yeah, and this apple cinnamon loaf cake smells so good already. While it bakes in the oven, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also ring the notification bell so you can get notified of all of our future videos. Also in the comments below, let us know what you think of this apple cinnamon loaf. Are there any other type of ingredients that you'd like to see in the loaves? Maybe let us know. We can do future videos. Maybe a banana nut bread. Also, don't forget to smash that like button. Thank you for all your support. Now back to the video.
And it cooked for a total of 63 minutes. Okay. So yeah, Just going around the sides, breaking up anything that may be stuck on the pan to get it loosened. We're gonna let it cool for 10 minutes. Okay, so now that the loaf has rested in the pan for 10 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and take it out and put it on our cooling rack. So it can cool more evenly. And we're gonna I know the temptation to cut into these loaves right away is hard to resist, but please don't do that. We're gonna go ahead and let this cool for 4 to 4.5 hours. You wanna wait till it's completely cool, so that way when you cut into your loaf, it cuts right and nice and neat. So that way, because if you cut it too soon while it's not cooled completely, it will crumble, and you don't want that to happen. Also, we're going to be making our cinnamon glaze that we use to put over this nice apple cinnamon swirl loaf later on once the bread has cooled. Okay, so now that this loaf is completely cooled, and we cooled this loaf for 4.5 hours because we wanted to make sure that it was completely cool and no steam or anything coming from it, I'm going to make the cinnamon glaze. And I'm going to show you how to make this glaze. First, you need a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. I'm going to dump that in here. You want 1 tablespoon of milk, 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and we're going to give this a great mix in. We're going to mix this really good till it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And we're going to give this a good mix in as well. After mixing the ingredients, it should look just like this. And it's just enough to glaze this loaf of ours. And once you glaze it, don't worry about it when it runs off the side or anything like that, because it's going to harden up. And we're just going to take our spoon here, just going to dip it slightly and just kind of drizzle it on here. See how nice and smooth it goes on there? And like I said, it will harden up on its own. It looks so nice and pretty and tasty, perfect for fall. Nice little fall weather treat. And after you drizzle it, it should look just like that. And we'll give this glaze about 5 minutes, and it should be 5-10 minutes, and it should be hardened. And then we can go ahead and cut into our loaf. Okay, so the icing is hardened. We wait about 10 minutes. And what we're gonna do is, let's slice into this loaf. And we're using a bread knife. See? See how nice and smooth that cut? It's not falling apart. Another nice slice. And now if you want to go ahead and have some heat on it, because I know it did cool, then just put it in the microwave for 15 seconds. All right, so if you like what you saw and if this video was at all helpful to you, go ahead and smash that like button, comment below and tell us what you think. Let us know if you tried this recipe, and also go ahead and hit the notification bell so when our new videos come up, you'll be notified. And go ahead and press that subscribe button.